of how this universe moves and works in divine harmony. Right? So, how do we explore finding peace in the silence? I think, and I wanted to bring forward today this idea of dissolving conditions. I was just thinking of Maggie Smith in Harry Potter when she does the wand, you know, instead of expensing so much energy on dealing with conditions. So dissolving, not dealing. Talk about radical interconnection. To know that the one ultimate supreme, infinite creative intelligence is wholly and wholly present within every condition we experience in life because we choose our thought. And the energy of our thought imprints God as law to bring forth the corresponding form to our belief. So, is power inherently within the condition or circumstance or in the creative intelligence behind it? Well, that's kind of a trick question because the creative intelligence is in all its creation as it caused its creation. But it only can be observed, recognized, and aligned with if we are aware of this truth. We all know that circumstances and conditions are temporary, they come and they go, and that there is no power or entity of power in them except that which we choose to assign them. So here we are right back. The power is here and how we choose to believe and direct our thought into that subconscious, subjective universal mind known as law. And just where is the power for change to be found and how can we activate it? Well, we know that the power is not in another. It's not by dealing or trying to manage or manipulate people, places, or things to affect our mood or well being or our agenda, be it known or unknown. Yes, the power lies within us. It lies within us because we are it, it is us. It acts as the one and only source of our good. And it is always ready to take our direction and produce tangible results. Now, we just heard Bobby Farron exclaim that we all have troubles and situations that need our attention. But when we worry, listen, I am an innate worrier. We make the trouble double. Now, I know everyone's aware of that. But how do we stop? Well, I think we get silent. I think we get silent. I'm going to talk a bit about more of that in a moment. But I've often been told, and Sharon here is an old friend of mine, not that old, but we've gone down the path together for many years. Uh, she knows I'm a dramatist, right? But in my defense, I think we're all born dramatists to a greater or lesser degree, responding, to our outer environment with judgment and often resistance, right? We get ourselves worked up, which is why we set to fix people and things to our liking, our level of comfort. Our nature and need is to interconnect, to relate, to feel connection and bonds, and most of all, to use our freedom of thought. Isn't it so? We will fight to the end for that freedom. And so we engage our mind as if to go to an assembly line in our creative processing plant. And we react accordingly, most often from a place of familiarity or need of understanding, our need to know, as if it gives us that leg up. We continue, unaware of the real power that lies within us for sustainable change and transformation. Right? Things that set us to dealing with on the level they exist is because we believe or we have given the circumstances power over us. Think of how you experience yourself in your environment and how it would shift if you would access and align with the infinite intelligence, the all knowing, all loving power back of all life that is seen and unseen. Use this understanding to shift your beliefs into energetic alignment with the spiritual nature of all life, and in doing so, demonstrate a new belief pattern which will affect a new cause. Now, this is true power. This is where we can make the difference that is ours to do, as Jack Fowler talked about in his song initially, in a world full of chaos and noise. And we will hear the things that we've never heard before. Because divine guidance, the voice, the storehouse of the one and only source is infinite. And as we open up and trust and allow and listen, we become aware of so much more. Choosing to be in the silence and making it a practice eliminates the monkey mind, the brain fog, the overwhelm, the pretense that we must often live under, often unwittingly. And it replaces it with patience, peace, and an excitement of curiosity and a willingness to be more creative, to try new ways of communicating, of relating to self, to God, to life, to others, and to our circumstances. Thich Nhat Hanh, in The Zen and Art of Saving the Planet, said this. He said, we can imagine there are many doors leading to that happiness or that peace. And opening any of those doors, happiness and peace will come to us in many different ways. But if you are attached to one particular idea of happiness or how you can be peaceful, it's as though you have chosen all the doors except one. And because that particular door does not open, peace cannot come to you. So don't close any door. Open all doors. Don't just commit yourself to one idea of happiness or peace. Remove the idea of the happiness and the peace you have, and happiness and peace may come right away. Isn't that interesting? He continues to say that the fact that is that many of us are attached to a number of things we think are crucial to our well-being: a job, a person, a material possession, an ambition, a way life should be outside of us. Could be anything. Even though we suffer a lot because of it, we don't have the courage to let it go. But the truth may be, we continue to suffer precisely because of that. Each one of us has to look deeply and see this for ourselves. He says it needs great insight and courage to release our idea of peace. But once we do that, freedom and peace can come very easily. I'm sure we can see ourselves in that understanding. So, can we shift how we spend our time, our energy, and our loving? Do we spend the valuable commodity of the gift of who we are to first care for the gift of life we have been given? Are we mindfully practicing self-care habits, including being a fierce gatekeeper of our own mind, to ensure the only thought or thoughts that get a key to enter at any time are those which advocate for our spiritual truth and the natural nature of peace within us. Peace is. It already is. We don't have to create it. We only need but reveal it. Now, I'm sure you've all heard, I have said many times, and I tell myself often that thoughts are creative. Dr. Ernest Holmes said thoughts are creative, but not all thoughts create or manifest. So I like to make the distinction of we are not our thoughts, we are our core belief systems, right? So the thoughts that keep building upon themselves, accumulate toward a certain idea, which starts to ingrain within us those tracks in the brain, those dendrites that become belief systems, patterns. Now, thoughts in and of themselves come and go, but only some of them build an infrastructure deep in our subconscious and become the law of our being. And when we are still, we have an opportunity to contemplate, to explore, to ask the deeper questions and listen without the pressure or the need to defend, justify, blame, or resist, but simply be curious. When we are still, we experience that we are not alone, that there is something going on. Yes? Something calling us, encouraging ever so gently, perhaps, into greater discovery of life's potential. And then we are awakened to that we are given support through the workings of a spiritual universe working in our favor, through an impersonal and responsive law of its nature to produce, to create. Now, I know there are times in our lives, just get on the internet, when the load seems too hard to bear. And then through disappointments, betrayals, pain, and fear, I want you to know we can rise. We can rise in the thought that there is an infinite intelligence operating in, as, and through us right where we are. Right where we are. We don't have to change. It's right here in its fullness and wholeness and perfection. The energy of which we can align with, tap into, and become. We can find hope in remembering that what we believe directs this power to exact upon us equal in measure our experience. And that if we choose to change our mind, we can change our lives. We can then experience greater capacity to hold the seeming paradox in life, the joy and the sorrow, the darkness and, at the same time, the light. Author Francis Weller wrote, "The work of the mature person is to carry grief in one hand and gratitude in the other, and to be stretched large by them." How much sorrow can we hold? That's how much gratitude I can give. If I carry only grief, I bend towards cynicism and despair. If I have only gratitude, I become saccharine. Remember that superficial level of spirituality that we often live, deciding what is spiritual and what isn't? We can become saccharine, and we won't develop much compassion for other people who are suffering. Grief keeps the heart fluid and soft, which helps make compassion possible. Now, in the silence, there is room for the complexity of life, just to be laid down, to be dissolved, and space for spiritual truth to be revealed. And as we practice this way, we begin to carry the vibration of this truth energetically in thought, and then mindfully, congruently in our word, and congruently in our action, and our experience of the circumstance changes as does the circumstance. Mary Manon Morrissey said we must never, ever throw off our vision upon the resistance of conditions and the power we give them. A vision that has been born in the silence, in the listening, comes complete with everything it needs to demonstrate in form, but what is needed then from us? To give over to God. Yes, but perhaps not in the way you might think. I see giving over to God as co-creators of our reality means taking responsibility for what is ours to do in mind and body through prayer and practice. In this way, we can dissolve all conditions back into the energy from which they came. To always start with the spiritual principles and work toward the desired experience. Start with the cause, not the effect or the condition. Start with the ultimate, infinite creative intelligence, that unseen energy that is always moving in and upon itself to produce a corresponding result. How do we do that? Get silence. Get silent. Get still. And claim it is already manifest. That what we desire to sense within ourselves and have an experience of within our life is already manifest, as in an infinite universal potential, and act as if it is. So giving it over means giving it over to spiritual truth to dissolve all discord and upset that we feel in our being. Hey, but we all love to cut corners, don't we? Take shortcuts. I was just talking to somebody the other day, and I said, yeah, if the door's shut, I'll go through the window. If the window's shut, I'll come down the chimney. If the chimney's, we always seem to find a way to get around the rock and the stream instead of just be with it and move into it and move past it. We don't like to settle, right? We like to push. We like to analyze. We like to strategize, right? We like to repeat and repeat and repeat. What is our agenda? Have you asked yourself that? What is your agenda? Is it ultimately to be ahead of the game? And I know that one. I always used to say, I feel like I'm always looking over my shoulder to keep one step ahead, so I don't fall behind, right? Or is your agenda to be one with the truth of who you are? If it is the latter, then it is to be fully expressed as greater peace, joy, abundance, and the nature of love in this lifetime. Now, yes, we can meet our wants temporarily on the surface by working on the level of condition, but only if we work on the level of spiritual truth within our own mind and practice. We will never, ever feel that our soul is fulfilled, that the true needs that our soul has are fulfilled. And we will constantly, in turn, shift to be distracted by the ego's wants. Now, there are many times I've said, I don't want to start over. I don't want to go back to the beginning. After everything I've been through, I deserve to have a break. Why me? Right? But we have to assess our present motivation and intention to move forward in order to revision a greater truth and a greater possibility in our life experience. So it really doesn't matter what our entry point is, only that we do the work in present mind awareness towards an expanding experience of who we are and what life could be by means of us. I don't think the time space continuum should ever be the measurement of success, only a measurement to inform us as to where we are in the unfoldment, in the journey of our vision. Because there is no end, but just a continual evolvement and evolution in one's awareness and therefore one's experience. There is no end game except to be more than we truly are, which means expanding the truth of who we are here and now. Now, this could be both a relief and a frustration as a human being on the spiritual path of coming into the truth that our humanity and divinity are one thing. But yet, this is the path we must walk. We must create a new mental and emotional equivalent or vision based on the spiritual truth of our circumstances or conditions. Whether it's around health or money, relationship, abundance. So I put a little list together of what I think stops us, I should probably say me, or distracts us on our way to listening. Now see if you can identify yourself here. Comparison and measurement. Our belief in duality. Our attachment to our identity. Our judgment of others and our worldview based on our attachment to our identity. Belief in opposing forces rather than sacred complements. Not being willing to accept and love ourselves for who we are. The assignment of many gods and the belief that the power for good lies outside of us. And the last one is believing that we don't fit and that we are special. So how to begin welcoming in the silence and listening? Yes, you've heard it before. Pause. Breathe deeply, not surfacely. As you feel yourself coming back into that center, ask for the highest knowing to be revealed. And then let it be. Just let it be. Surrender thought. Initiate nothing. Feel yourself emptying out. Just receiving without attachment to outcome or trying to mold or label anything that might come to us. Keep breathing, keep listening, and repeat. And repeat. In the silence, we can find a peace and the space to acknowledge and love all our parts, the parts we like, the parts we don't. For if we reject parts of ourselves, we are denying our wholeness. That's why it's important to remember that true peace means acknowledging that we are complex, messy, and spiritual growth and maturity is not about getting rid of pieces or disconnecting ourselves or banishing. It's about accepting all of who we are in each and every moment and loving it. We have to get comfortable with all our emotions, not just the ones we like. We have to sit with what is uncomfortable for us. Now, it may be that doing this is too painful at times, and so we seek help. someone to walk with us, perhaps a counselor, coach, a clergy person, a trusted friend. Nothing says we must do this alone, but it is vital to work with our suffering. As the Buddhists say, no mud, no lotus. So, in summary, I just want to share one last piece from Thich Nhat Hanh. He notes that we tend to have two wrong ideas about suffering. If we suffer, we eliminate our peace. But if we suffer, then all of life is suffering and misery. And we can only find peace if we never suffer again. We have to use the suffering, our fear, our despair, our anxiety, to create peace, awakening, and insight. The practice is to make good use of suffering in order to reveal peace. There cannot be one without the other. Suffering and peace inter-are is the expression. Inter-R. We have to find a way to face our suffering and transform it into peace and compassion, just as we use the place where we fall to help us stand up. So pause. Pause with me right now. Breathe. And take this moment that you have given as a gift to yourself and ask for the highest knowing to be revealed. And surrender thought. Listen. And simply receive anything that comes to you. In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's release. From a world full of chaos and noise. So I wait for those precious moments, and I hear all that's never been heard. And right here in these holy moments, I find God. I find God. I find myself. May all beings be happy. May all beings be at peace. And so it is. Amen.